Hello, my name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel. I do videos all about decluttering, minimalism and my no spend year, and today we're going to look at how we can save money fast. As you know, unfortunately we are entering a very kind of meek time in which fuel prices, energy prices and food prices are about to skyrocket as things are changing around the world. And that's meaning that a lot of families are now much closer to the breadline than they ever have been before. And I've done videos before about saving money quickly and I'll link those up above, but I wanted to share some new ideas on how you can save money fast in different ways. The reason I'm so passionate about this is because I have been on the breadline and I kind of am on the breadline again because I've reduced my hours, and that means that money is much tighter than ever before, and it really does impact on your well-being. So it's important that you are tracking your finances and looking at any ways that you can to reduce some of the expenditure that you have. We're going to look at 3 different areas. We're going to look at your income, how much money you have coming in and how you can increase that. We're going to look at your expenses and how you can save money in that direction. And we're also going to look at activities, because if you're like me and you have a family or you like to do things with your friends, then activities are going to be another costly area. We can look at how we can reduce money in the activities that we do. So let's get into income. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you are getting anything that you are entitled to. If you're on the breadline, then I should imagine you're already quite familiar, if you're in the UK, with universal credit or working tax credit or child tax credit. Make sure that you have gone on the entitled to website, that you have looked and made sure that you're getting everything you're entitled to. Keep updating them if your income becomes less, because that means that you might be entitled to more. And make sure that you are claiming everything that you are rightfully entitled to. If you're a single parent or living on your own, then make sure that with council tax you're getting your 25% discount for being a single occupant. This is really important as it saves quite a lot of money, so make sure you're getting that if you are living alone. If you are working, are you getting your worth in your job? Is there a way that you could ask for either more responsibility, for a higher pay, or are you due a pay rise that you are entitled to? Put those ideas to your employer and see whether or not there are opportunities, because there might be side shifts or upwards moves that you can do that your boss or your employer will be supportive of. And they might not be aware that you are wanting that unless you put your voice out there and say what you're looking for. Are there any side hustles that you could do? Do you have any hobbies or craft activities that you do that actually you could generate some money from? Do you like to flip furniture, where you take old items, you sand them down and you paint them and then you sell them on? So is there something that you could do as a side hustle? This could be anything from creating art, flipping furniture, making crafts, and these could be things that you could sell locally as well at craft fairs now that things are back up and running again, or they could be sold locally through a marketplace. Do you have any items that could be sold in your house? Have you got any furniture or valuable items that you are no longer using that could help generate some extra income over the coming months? Because if you start to declutter and you find valuable items, you can slowly start to sell them, and that will give you some extra money each month that can go towards those bills. We're now going to have a look at your expenses. So this means that you're going to have to go through your bank account and work out how much you're spending in each category. This is really important to be able to know which areas that you're spending the most in and where you could possibly reduce your spending. Specifically with your bills then, are there any bills that you could pay for annually? This could save you money. For example, your car insurance. You pay a premium by paying monthly direct debits. You get charged a certain percentage more than what you would if you paid in one go. So why not see if you can fork up the money up front so that you have paid out for that in one go and save that interest from being added to your monthly bills. And linking to insurance, can you make sure that you shop around? So each year you'll get a new price for how much your insurance is going to be. This is not just for car insurance, this is buildings insurance, contents insurance. Make sure you're shopping around and getting the best deal. There are still deals to be had with regards to this, so it's always worth checking that you're on the best deal. If it's a case of saving tens or hundreds of pounds, then it's definitely worth doing. You'll be surprised at how many insurance companies are still providing you with a higher quote each year rather than reducing it each year. Do you have any unused subscriptions that you could cut? So this is meaning like Netflix, Sky, Disney Plus. Are there any other subscription services like Spotify that you're paying for, Apple Music, that you don't need? Do you actually use them? Is there ones that you could cut that would save you some extra pounds each month? And you'd be surprised at how many of those little subscriptions add up. If you think about how much each of them cost, so they may only be £4 or £5 each month, but actually if you're cutting 3 of those subscriptions, you're saving £15 to £20 a month, and that's quite a big chunk of money. So see if there's any subscriptions that you could reduce and cut. The next tip is about reducing your travel, and this may be a little bit hard to do because you may be really wanting to go out and do lots of things, but I think sometimes it's about being realistic and knowing where to cut some of the travel. So if you know you only need to pop to the shop and get some bread and milk, do you need to drive? Could you walk that journey? Could you find ways of cycling or go into more local shops so that you can maximise the most out of the money that you do spend on petrol, so that you're not spending money on petrol for unnecessary little trips? Reducing some of those little mini trips might help reduce some of your overall fuel costs. And similarly, for planning days out, could you do local days out rather than having to travel further afield? So maybe if you're normally used to driving for an hour and a half for a trip out, could you reduce it so that your journey is 45 minutes and no longer than that, so that you're cutting the amount of time you're in a car, the amount of time that you're spending on fuel as well. Next is to only buy things that you really need. It's really tempting to go out shopping and just buy little bits and pieces or extra things from the middle aisle at Lidl or Aldi. Do you need those items? Can you put them back? Reduce the temptation of picking these things up. Cutting some of your spend on unnecessary items or reducing the amount that you're spending on clothing and knickknacks is going to make a huge difference to how much money you still have in your pocket and that you can put towards other things. I think you'd be surprised at how much money you're spending on things that you probably don't really need, and that will make a difference to how much you have in your pocket at the end of each month. Next up is to meal plan. I go on about this a lot. I will link up above to some videos that I've done about this, but it's really important that you are getting a rough idea of what meals you're going to have over the 7 days, making sure you're buying ingredients for those meals only, and making sure that you've allocated for lunches and breakfast so that you're not buying things that you have not planned to use. This is helping you to reduce the amount of wastage with regards to veg or fruit. It's just making sure that you are utilising everything that you have. And when you're meal planning, it's also important to see what you already have in the cupboards and finding meals that you could make using those items to help save on the amount that you need to spend in the shops. So you might find that you have lots of meat already in the freezer, well actually then you don't need to go and buy any meat, you just need to buy the things that go with it. So it's about being prepared and having a rough idea. You don't have to plan each meal on each day. It can be that you have these 7 meals over the 7 days and you pick and choose what you feel like each day. And like I said, another thing to do is to use up items that you already have first of all with regards to food, and this also applies to other things too, but using up items that you already have in your home will help you to declutter as well, but it'll also make sure that you don't waste any products as well. Next up is to make sure that you are taking your time before doing a big ticket purchase. So making sure that you really need it, that you have shopped around, that you have really considered whether or not it's worth the money that you're willing to spend. Because nothing's more infuriating than buying something on a whim, getting it and then realising that you could have either bought it cheaper or actually it's not going to serve the purpose that you want it to. So really think about whether or not it's going to fit into your home, it's going to be the right decision for you, and if you're really going to use it. Next up is to have sinking funds, and this can be used for a range of items like for paying for insurance yearly, or for birthdays, for Christmas, or for summer holidays, things like that, where you know that you're going to need a chunk of money. So if you put that money aside each month, you know that by the time it gets to Christmas, you have got that money ready, then you're not going to be tempted to get in any debt at that period because you have the cash ready. Next up is to make sure that you pay off debts before you start saving. It's really important that you have maximised your money. You're going to not earn that much money via savings interest rates at the minute, so it's more important that you clear the interest that you're paying on your debt, as this is going to be much higher and cost you more. So pay off your debt first. I would start with the highest interest items first of all, and then go to your smaller interest rate items this will help you get the maximum out of your money so that you're not spending more money than necessary on interest. When you do budgeting, make sure that you know exactly what's coming in and exactly what's coming out. And if you know that you're going to have a pocket of money that is left over, that is spare money, instantly put it away into a savings account, unless you have debt. Pay off your debt first. But if you have it spare and you don't have any debt, put it straight into a savings account. You're less likely to spend it if it's in another account and it's more difficult to access. It's a lot trickier to get money from a savings account because you have to transfer it back to your bank account before you can use it, so you're just less likely to use it. So next I want to talk about how you can save money with the activities that you do. First of all, my suggestion is to go for walks. This could be along coastal paths, the beach, it could be in country parks. You're going to get a lot from going on walks with friends, family, or just yourself to clear your head, clear your mind and refresh, get that fresh air, but it's actually not going to cost you a penny. So this is a free activity that you can actually get a lot out of. It can bring you down to earth and it can just give you that peace that you might be looking for. Next up is to limit the number of big trips that you do within a month. So it might be that you make sure that every weekend you do some big activity with your family, and that's going to cost you lots of money. You could reduce it so that maybe you do it every other week, or you have one big ticket activity that you do a month and the other activities are smaller activities that are free or don't cost very much. So if you're going to like a theme park or a zoo, which can be costly when you've got a family, it could be that you only do one of those activities a month, but it's about finding the balance that works for you. So if you know that you can't afford that, then cut the amount of big activities that you are doing and try and think of some smaller, cheaper activities for those other weekends. There are lots of free places that you can go for activities, like the museum, country parks, art galleries. These are all free things that you can access that still have educational value as well. If you're looking for that kind of content, it still has something interesting, something to do and activities to do there, and you are learning at the same time. So there's lots that you can do through museums or art galleries as well. There also might be fairs or exhibitions locally that will have only like a small entry fee or free entry, so make the most of all the things that are going on around you. There will be lots of free entry items within each town and city. When you go for a trip out, make sure you're limiting the amount of money that you're going to spend when you're there. So if you're going to the zoo, do you have a budget of how much you would be willing to spend in the shop? Do you want to spend nothing in the shop? Have a really clear expectation of what that's going to look like when you go to that activity and how much you're willing to spend on gifts or memorabilia from that trip. Next up is to take a picnic lunch review when you go for days out. This is really going to save you a lot of money because quite easily money can tot up if you're buying food or drinks out. Make sure that you've always got your own drinks and that you've got snacks for children, and if possible arrange a picnic lunch because that's going to save you a huge amount of money. Try and stick to local places if possible. So I live in Devon, so I've got loads of beaches and I've got Dartmoor and Exmoor. So I tend to stick to local places to me. It could be that you do something similar as well, that you only utilise local places, and there'll be lots more than you think. Is there some neighbouring towns or villages that you haven't yet looked around and explored? That might be a really fun activity to do and get to know your local area. Next up is to consider how many social events you attend. Are you somebody that goes out every weekend, both nights, and you drink and party or have lots of meals out? Is there a way that you can reduce the amount of meals or drinks out and social things that you are doing? So rather than doing 2 nights every week, can you reduce it to 1 night a week or every other weekend? How could you cut down the amount of social events you're attending? Because each social event is going to cost you lots of money in drink and food. So that's going to be an easy way that you can cut down some money. And my final tip is to let people know that you're trying to save money. This may sound a little bit odd and not everybody is comfortable doing that, but actually if you tell people that you're trying to save money and cut down some of your spending, they're probably likely to come on board with that and be supportive of it, and make sure that they are thinking of activities that are free and that do cost only a little bit of money, so that you are actually supporting one another. You'd be surprised at how many people will support you if you let them know that actually I do want to see you, but I can't spend money on a big activity. Could we just go to the park? Could we go to the beach and have a picnic? think about sharing some of your experience with people, and they will be more supportive than you think. So being aware of exactly what's happening with your money and what you're spending on each day is the key to successfully saving money. You've got to be aware of what's going on with your pennies so that you know how to look after them. You're kind of going to have to be a bit cruel to be kind with yourself and know that it's not going to last forever. It's just a way of getting you through some of those tougher times. It could be that because of having debt, saving money is actually going to just take away some of that financial strain of having the debt and having to clear it, so that actually you could get onto an even path again where you can spend money and not feel guilty. It's about being responsible and making some key decisions so that you can get the most out of your money longer term. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos on minimalism, decluttering and my no spend year. And I shall see you soon. Take care. Bye.